Welcome to the podcast. No idea what this one is about yet.
Let's go.
Just chatting about life.
Yeah.
We're always up to unusual stuff. Every time we chat, we get really good ideas.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll waste our time. Maybe we'll waste your time listening. Hopefully not. I know Fernando started training. We don't have to use names if it's elite athletes, but I know you started training a all-star baseball player this week.
Yes. And I wanted to talk about that because
Insights
and kind of, it's not to attack, that's not the right word, but to just talk about what like high level sports training sometimes means, and that it has glaring holes. It's just a fact. A lot of these trainers, they might be some of the best trainers in the world, but they focus on certain things and they seem to let the lower leg, I'm just going to call it out, basically from the knee down, they seem to just have a massive avoidance. And I don't know why that is. Maybe it's for time issue. Maybe they only have them so much time, so they work on the power. Because we know the hips are, that's where everything kind of starts from, the power generation. But the knees are just neglected. And then even worse is the ankles, the calves, the tibialis muscles, these areas. So this guy comes in and got nagging knee injury. He's got nagging calf injuries. He's got all these ankle things going on. He's never addressed it. It's never come up. And he tells me about the training they're doing, and it's just...
so it's basically treatment.
Yeah.
And then hope but it's not addressed in his actual training.
Correct. There's no strengthening of these areas.
Yowza.
Yeah. And then on top of that, the training that they do can very often, and has in his case, aggravated the issue. So it's just kind of fascinating. We've kind of known this from other past experiences with our other pro athletes, and I know you've trained a bunch. I've trained a few, and it's never been not that. It always has this glaring out points, these missing links, if you will. So all I've started doing with him, and it's already going fantastic, is just working from the ground up, just the basic ATGs. I'm doing the most basic ATG workout with him, and he's loving it. Wow. And his body's feeling better already. And it's like it gives these pro athletes, since we're talking about that, this sort of hope that they can go back to playing free when they were teenagers, when they were in college, before the body started to break down, before the wear and tear of long seasons. They just went out there and would swing and run. You didn't have attention on your body. You had attention on playing your sport. So as a trainer, if I were to give any advice to someone who's going to train a pro athlete, is address the points that allow them to play their sport without thinking about their body, basically. It's like fix the little things. We don't have to get them to squat 400. None of that stuff matters, really. They are already gifted athletes. They're freaks of nature already. They're in the pro leagues.
Yeah.
Fix the little links. Address the small things. Get them feeling good, healthy, and then they'll play better, and they'll be very grateful.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. Yeah. You got something, Ben?
Why don't you break down ground up?
Okay.
Me?
That's very much Derek.
Yeah, I was just going to add something to what Fernando's saying, because sometimes I notice that me personally, and what I've seen within my my experiences is people are, like, if you watch Zion Williamson or LeBron James or all these people in high school, they were freak athletes before they really hit the weight room. Like Zion was a better athlete before he really started doing all that stuff. And then when he started doing all this weight, he started injuring himself. Lonzo Ball the same way. When they started getting to this high level training, man, that's when like a lot of injuries took place. So, and even myself, man, when I was in high school, me and my friends, we used to run, jump, play. Didn't even think about literally like really lifting heavy, and were like pretty freakish, you know what I'm saying? So, and I'm watching Ben's kids and the flexibility and mobility they have, like they're not so worried about, man, how much, I'm sure you're honestly not thinking, man, how much can he squat? Like, you know what I'm saying? Not yet anyway. But, man, not that that's bad, but I like what you said, man, getting your body back into like that fresh out the box feeling. And then ground up, I feel like does that because you kind of reversing a lot of things that happen. So ground up is starting with the sled, obviously working through the feet, balls of your feet, reversing what gravity is kind of doing to us. And that's with the sled, backwards treadmill, working going up from calves, tibialis. I've seen a lot of my friends even 20s, 30s, 40s, like Leonard Johnson, for instance, had an Achilles tear. I know a lot of people that had Achilles tear just because they haven't worked from the ground up. They didn't create the mobility and the flexibility in their ankles and their calves, because wearing those cleats all day, like on that turf, like you get bound up. And if you don't know to stretch your calves out, if you don't know about the training the tibialis and creating that flexibility, so calves, tibialis, and then you go to your knees, so your flexion, so your split squats, your quads, the couch stretch, deep squats, and then the posterior chain, so the Jefferson curls, the Nordics, the deep back extensions. And then once you really address all those things, you create the mobility in the hips, the flexibility, and through your quads, then you kind of go more to the upper body. So that's when you get to the cross bench pullovers, the trap 3 raises, the pressing exercises, so the dips and the chest press, shoulder presses. And then, and I know I'm kind of moving through it fast, and then you kind of go to the grip, you know what I mean? Sort of like those weaker links. So, and I feel like if somebody of my age or even younger, 20s, 30s, if they even still do the standard lifts that their strength conditioning coach had them doing, they can still do the ground approach 2 to 3 days a week, just for mobility, just like going yoga class 2 or 3 times a week, So yeah, man, I know I kind of ran through it quick, B, but yeah, that was my take on it, man. After listening to you and after just reflecting on so many people over my life that just have damaged their body, and then from listening to well-meaning people, but Ben, I had a question for you. Do you truly think people can know without knowing? Like Fernando, obviously, he knows how to train someone because he has done it for so long, and he's practiced on his own body, and he's been his own guinea pig. He knows because he knows. He's not like reading a book. He's not studying. He's not watching a webinar. He's not going to courses. He's really in the trenches, and knees from a deeper aspect because you know it from an experiential level. Do you feel like people, and this is a real question, do you feel like people can really know it and teach it without knowing it from an experiential, like from a inside out level?
From experiencing themselves, basically.
Yeah, that's a real question, man.
No, it's a really good question. I mean, when you're studying about something, you're thinking about it. Knowing it would be better. Like, someone could be a good trainer if they think about it, but to really know it, you're going to be more confident. You're going to get more results. The problem with the pros is, like, they have to go through the university system. So if we take something even as simple as knees over toes, I mean, I have actual college professors reach out and be like, look, yeah, we know about the knees over toes thing. Some of the better professors will make notations in the book to say, like, this is actually incorrect. Here's the newer research. But we're talking like 1 in 100 professors. So you're talking like 99% of professors are still, according to the professors, are still going out with textbooks, forcing students to believe something that has been proven wrong and harmful. So saying no knees over toes, you're already limiting so much in the knee, in the lower leg.
And that's just one aspect. Then you have all the over 90% of physiotherapists that say don't go near them. And then you got all the chiropractors and all the doctors that don't even study biomechanics, whatever. You have so many fields of medicine and medical and on top of the trainer that are also backing that up. So it creates this massive false information that is so backed by the quote-unquote authorities that it becomes very hard to challenge. And that's why Ben did challenge that and is showing the truth, which is why we're here. Yeah. But it's very hard. I still get comments every day. Oh, physiotherapist told me not. 3 physiotherapists say you're wrong. Like, these comments like this all the time. And it's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Do it yourself. Find out for yourself. Look at other research, alternate research, et cetera,
Yeah, I mean, without question, compared to when ATG started, we've made a lot of headway. But every mistake in education then branches out on each student who has that mistake put into them. And that's where the thinking knowing comes in. So like with ATG, our certification process is pretty brutal because you have to be able to do all this stuff. So like you actually have to have you have to have above the norm knees, spine, shoulders in terms of protecting the body to be a level 2. Level 1, you get the form down. Level 2, you have to have these abilities. And you have to get that in other people. So you're going to have more knowing than thinking at that point compared to just hearing me say it or reading something in a textbook. And that's where the thinking gets dangerous, is if you're actually wrong. And now you're thinking that's right. So these students who are taught something that's incorrect, and now they're told they have to do it this way, they believe that. They didn't actually get results with that. They don't know that it works. And so, yeah, to answer Derek's question fully, you want to get to a point where you have so much experience that nothing could knock you off your game. You know that subject from doing it, from seeing it in the real world.
Yeah. Right. Do you think specifically you can know it from teaching it? Do you feel like you can know it? Do you have to know it from experiencing it?
I mean, there's probably no absolute on anything, but it sure helps if you've experienced it.
There's levels.
Like if you can,
it's just hard for me to feel like somebody can actually know it if you don't know it. But I don't know. That's just a question. I'm just curious of what you guys thought about that.
I mean, the way you move on the basketball court in your 40s, let's say someone is in their 40s and never plays their sport and is a wreck, and they don't know what that feels like. They may think they're the best trainer in the world. Like, they don't know for sure. They maybe they are giving people the same program as you. Like, maybe they are just as good of a trainer, but they wouldn't really know. So they wouldn't have the same certainty. Yeah. Okay. And you would also be able to
certainty is a different point.
Okay.
Yeah. There's like
that's
knowing.
A level. That's a different level.
That's where experience comes in. It's like a high level of knowingness would be called certainty.
That's what I need.
And to me, it comes from even Charles. It's results. Results. Yeah. You don't know, get a result. Like, do it and find out. I mean, that is the truth. Is if I got a result, you cannot deny a result is a physical manifestation of something occurring, right? So if I take this guy and now he has no knee pain and he's running faster and playing better and has his best year yet, you can't say anything.
He'll have reality on that.
He will, yeah. He already has reality after 2 days.
Yeah, he'll know. I see this. Yeah. But like Derek, when Derek started training ATG, sled was reserved for Fridays. That's like everyone in the gym would sled on Fridays.
Right. Yeah. Effed up Fridays, we call it.
But Derek's like, still, even though it's just as friends, we're talking about like our ATG pickup games. We have some of the highest jumpers in the world. We have tremendous speed and explosiveness. And so Derek, trying to move his body at a high level, he didn't want to lift as heavy each day of the week. He wanted to be sledding before every workout. Yeah. Get that circulation going. Mm-hmm. So the fact of you just going through your journey of life, that's why you run the longevity section. Like, okay, let's see how well you move when you're 50. I'm not saying ATG system is perfect. That's on you to make the ATG longevity system perfect. I can try to make the knee system perfect with myself and others. Like, if I was running to a problem, if I couldn't go out there and dunk a basketball, we'd have a serious problem on our hands. Yeah. You know more than anyone from playing with me this whole time, I've never not been able to go 100% because of my knees. Yeah, fact. That's how I know that it works. That's what gives me the confidence. And it's a self-correcting thing. I can adjust the system in real time by trying to, I mean, if you're dunking at 50, if I'm like, what if we're actually pretty good athletes at 60? Our system's going to be pretty darn good.
It's ironclad at that point.
That's what's going to make it good. Not theoretical, not like, a new piece of research came out that the velocity of the move, if we measure the velocity of the move, maybe that's good.
You want to throw up, bro.
I mean, the beautiful thing is that it's not necessary for absolutely world-class results. True. It's pretty cool that you can get world-class results with like basic stuff that anyone with a regular job could get in their garage or something. Right. Like, that's pretty cool. Like, there's not, like, even our most difficult thing to access is like a sled. Yeah. That's a piece of metal that someone could use on grass or get one of these internal resistance ones. Like, we're talking 1/10 of the price of when you walk into a gym of what a treadmill costs. So yes, societally, maybe it's a little harder to access some of this stuff at first. But if we're just looking at an even playing field, looking at the future, everything we're using costs a tiny fraction. Like, everything in here is probably 100th. And this is like a really nice squat rack given to us. Shout out Sorinex. Yeah. If you have a pro sports team or whatever, you might as well get something like that. Yeah. But it's just our squat stand.
It's just metal.
It's like, can be like $500 and we do our pull-ups and squats. And
That is pretty amazing that you can get world-class results.
World class.
And without having all this high-tech
No lasers.
equipment.
No.
Yeah. I just I didn't even think about that. This stuff really is
Cheap as heck. We think of it like,
super
oh, it's a
cheap.
burden because you got to get this different stuff. But it's actually relatively, go walk into your local 24-hour fitness. Our gym's 100th of the price.
Yeah, if not less.
I wanted to say a couple of things on that. So
Nordic machine
we
probably
call it basic movements. We are very much considered as a group still very unorthodox.
Oh, yeah.
And like that even one of the, sometimes I'll get that from the university trainers or the pro team trainers. They're like, you're going to do something unorthodox this offseason. I'm like, well, it's funny because we're actually the common sense stuff in our own eyes, right? Yeah. So it just depends on how you look at it. But I wanted to kind of tie back to that, to the athletes and things, kind of what you were talking about is a lot of the time we have that potential in us. If you don't, maybe you need to train heavy and whatever. You can build potential also, strength potentials. But restoring the range of motion, right there, that line, restoring the range of motion seems to be what most athletes crave and lose first as they age. And as they age could be 25, it could be 30, it could be 35, 40.
18.
So even and this is not, and for anyone's going to say, oh, well, you guys are just, it works for us three, and you guys have always been freak athletes. That's not true. I know Ben has his own story. I had a story where at 24 years old, I could barely touch the rim, if that. I think I had a 22 or 24-inch vertical. I ran 5.2 40s, would pull my groin every time I did them, every time I'd sprint. Genetic freak, right? I squatted 185 pounds at 18 years old. Then
we grew up like you were slow and like you weren't
chubby.
You didn't have those.
It's a fact. I was chubby, slow, and then I started to get like lean because whole story.
When I was timing you on the track running 5 seconds, and then I was at the CFL tryout watching when the guy clocked you at a 4.4 something twice at the CFL tryout.
And he didn't believe me. He made me go do it again and was like, wow. And I have 36, 37, 38 recorded standing inch verticals. Over 40, like 44 is probably my best, 45 running verts. These are things, or 43, whatever, in that range. These are things that I gained from starting ATG, training, learning from Charles Poliquin, our mentor. And then I lost it a little after I stopped playing pro sports. I didn't train. I stopped training. Yeah. And now at 35 years old, because I see memes every day. Oh, my back hurts. It's like when you're in your 30s. And it's like all these memes about being in pain at 30 years old. Yeah. And I'm 35 and I have less knee pain, more range of motion. I'm dunking I don't even try, and I'm dunking easier than I was. I'm 210 pounds. I'm completely in the best shape of my life with as little effort as possible from doing the ATG basics. I no longer train 3 times a day, or twice a day, and go crazy and burn myself out and eat, sleep, gym only. That's all works. And if I was a pro athlete, I probably would still be doing that. But it shows how much that the basics alone, which in the public view are considered unorthodox, but in our eyes, it's actually the most basic movements of man, human, the joints, it's biomechanics. It's you're doing the range of motion that a joint is supposed to do.
That you naturally have.
Exactly. And then you strengthen that. It's simple.
Yeah.
And the first thing you lose is the flexibility and the range of motion. So that is what I would say for anyone training a pro athlete or somebody who is an athlete already, is restore that range of motion first, then increase the potential and strengthen it.
And ground up, as you said.
Exactly.
Like your baseball
player,
need a
foundation.
You're saying that like in his team training, he runs into these lower leg problems, goes into team training, there's no strengthening of the lower leg. Now, someone could see me do a tibialis raise and say, boy, is that unusual and a waste of time. Well, if I was spending half my training time on it, that would be unnatural. But on the lower leg, I spend the lower leg, calf and tib is probably like 1/10 of the body's mass. What do you think?
Lower leg.
Yeah,
maybe 1/10. That's a good.
My legs are like 70%.
7%.
Well, not the upper leg, the calf and tib. Just the calf and tib.
Yeah, 10%
is good.
But like most of my programs, like you do a set to burn out. Like it literally takes a 1/10 of your
1 to
workout.
3 sets at most.
Yeah, so if you work out for 40 minutes, you might spend 4 minutes on the lower leg. Like we're actually just trying to approximate what's natural.
Yeah.
But this is why, like, Derek and I lately, most of what we talk about is we've done ATG long enough now where it's like we can see the vision of what an ATG gym should be. This place is a rental. We're actually building like our own headquarter gym now to use as a model if other people wanted to copy the model. And so you got the turf down the middle for the sleds. And then on one side, you have your longevity system.
Per AI, it says 20% lower leg.
Wow.
Just wanted to throw that in there.
Some big calves.
Yeah. Thigh is 46%.
Wow. So on one side, you have the longevity system, and you really, because this has been so missed, you just flow from the ground up. Yeah. So your sled, you're pushing through the toes, you're getting circulation. I mean, even the weight is from the ground up. Like the weight is on the ground. That's what makes it so safe. It could be 1,000 pounds. Have 90-year-old grandma try to push a 1,000-pound sled. It won't move. Grandma will be fine compared to putting even 100 pounds on her back. So literally resist from the ground up, strengthen from the ground up. When you're sledding, your toes are moving, you're getting stronger feet, and then flow through that calf, tib, gradually work into the full range of motion for the legs, hips, upper body. It's like once you've done ATG, that now seems so obvious and simple and boring. But yeah, I think we're gonna have to spend the next 10 years just educating on that, making gyms, letting people get results with that.
Until the textbooks change, our job for the rest of our lives.
And they might never change.
And they might never.
The beautiful thing is we have social media. 20 years ago, there's no knees over toes guy.
Oh no.
20 years ago, it's like,
I mean, Charles used to
Benjamin Patrick, 65 years old. Have you heard about this guy? He's still dunking a basketball in the year 2052.
Do you know
you
how
would have found out about it 30 years from now?
Attacked Charles has been for his things that
Has he really?
40. Oh, dude, he was the most attacked trainer, and he's the most successful trainer of all time. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And he was doing things in the 70s and 80s that have 40 years later are being, a novel idea. Science is showing that this works. He's been doing it for 40, 50 years.
Wow. Well, I mean, a perfect reverse step up was first published in 1880.
Yeah, it's insane.
So, yeah, you have all these different inspirations. Bob Guida made those tib bars. He made those many decades ago, and they didn't get popular, and so they fell out of, like, you couldn't buy one. They didn't. Wow. And the point is just that we're actually just trying to approximate like what would be natural for a body. So like building from a ground up and using your full ranges of motion. So what we have to do is it's actually just the persistence.
Right.
We don't necessarily have to make it sexy, even though these guys make it. No. I make it pasty.
I like
keep
it, man.
Tasty, keep it tasty.
Yeah,
I don't even know what that means,
you're
but
a freak, man. You're a freak. and the more we continue to like lead from the front, man, I feel like that's saying something.
We gotta live it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Right. Derek has to play that. Like Derek has to look really good on the court at 50. Like it's just I gotta still be dunking when I'm 50 and drop down. Like I have to do things. If I don't do things with my knees at 50 in terms of the sheer ability of the knee that no one's done at 50 before. Like that's what we have to
proof
do
is in the pudding
while continuing this education. And rather than trying to make it seem unusual, actually just point out how natural it is.
Right. Yeah. And it's always funny to me, just as a comment, like, oh, well, talk to me when you're, 30. And then it's talk to me when you're 40. Well, I'm 35 now and I'm still talking and I'm just as strong or stronger. So I will talk to you at 40.
Mom's 70.
I will talk at
70.
My dad's 73 going full range of motion. He could not do. He has no meniscus. Yep. He is repaired. Actually, didn't even repair it. He blew out his knee in the 70s and didn't even repair it. And he can still. The point is that we will be the examples. Yeah. And I will be there 40, 50, 60. It's going to be amazing. And eventually, through that education, if we're just persistent on it, you will change many lives and future lives. Yeah. And that,
it's true. When I see the person say that negative comment, let's see you when you're 60.
I will.
It's actually like you're 100% right. Like it's on me to be a product of the product when I'm 60.
There's nothing wrong. Exactly. Yeah. It's like, okay, I will. And I will call you in 15
That just shows what they're used to seeing.
Yeah. Exactly.
They've been driven down by life.
Yeah, and I like what Fernando said about because right now I work out maybe 3 times a week. You don't have to. I mean, I used to live in a gym, man, twice a day. Like I feel better now than I felt then when I was like, and you don't have to. A lot of people think that or comment or my page, your page.
They assume you're spending so many hours on. They assume like, well, if I didn't have a job and I spent 4 hours, I'm like, dude, I train with him. He's like a few days a week. Like I'm the same thing. Like I average 3 days a week.
Yeah.
You get a compounding effect. I used to spend half an hour just to get loose to work out.
Right.
Yeah.
Now I walk in, I'm like, I don't like. You shouldn't do this, but like I want to just go right to. I don't even want to warm up. I'm not saying that's a smart thing to do. I'm just saying that
exercise is a warm up a lot of times, though.
a sled is a warm up.
Right. The sled is warm. We have effect. I have a whole routine, 8 minute,
Yeah.
8 to 10 minute warm up.
Yeah.
Fucking whole body and beautiful. Now,
But if I challenged you, if I said you only get to work out 2 days a week for an hour, you'd be like, that's fine. I'll still be strong.
I do upper body and I would maintain the body for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to say, like, it's not that those early days of our grind didn't have positive effects.
A lot of learning.
Now, a lot of probably negative effects too, funny enough. Injury, overuse.
We're still standing.
Overuse. So you can look at
I
that.
abused
Someone
my
can
knees.
say, no, it's because you did train hard that now, well, maybe I'm not better because you could, it just depends on how you look at it, basically. So yeah, I averaged 3 workouts a week, 3, 4. I do play sports, lots of different sports. So yeah, the point is I stay active and I train hard and effectively, efficiently. And that is the ATG thing. And then another thing I really wanted to bring up really quickly was the grip, because you mentioned it. And for certain sports, specifically baseball players, since we're kind of in that world right now, is I consider that sort of the ground up too. Think about it if you're a you're on your feet and hands. Okay, so it's from the extremities in.
Yeah.
Okay, so his upper body there's over 10 different grip exercises, all training different portions and aspects of a grip. Okay, it's a very mobile joint, right? So every day I choose one of those 10, I just cycle through it. Okay, and then we work the flexors, or actually from there, generally I go to the shoulder and I make sure the shoulder's super stable. Then I go to the elbow, and then we're going to the torso, more like the mid back.
Yeah.
And
that's an important point on the grip.
chest. Yeah.
That is a good point.
The grip is to the upper body, like the hands,
Feet and
wrists.
grip.
Yeah, but a lot of things like are grip too, though. At the same time, when you're doing the trap 3, when you're doing
holding any
pull-ups,
dumbbell,
when you're doing you're doing a lot of But isolating that grip is very important, and I can see what you mean. That is a ground up.
Yeah. Well, even a gripper is similar to a sled because, like, let's say you set the gripper at 1,000 pounds that no human can close, it just wouldn't move. Like you'd be totally fine, but it wouldn't move.
Yeah. There's no injury to it. You just go until you
just
can't
say,
do
I
it
can't do it.
anymore.
Yeah.
Same thing with sled.
Yeah, that's true. I appreciate you saying that. But yeah, a lot of people be like, man, I bet you in the gym all day long. And I'm like, bro.
Oh, me too. You live in the gym. How many days? 7 days a week? I'm like, I forgot to go this week.
Yeah,
like,
a lot of people
I'm
say
not
that
saying
just 'cause they
I'm not
don't
saying
think-
not to go. I've obviously built a body and a foundation where I now can skip a week and still have a good body. I've earned that right. So that doesn't, but yeah, the average is 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And people are
How
always
much you
shocked about that.
How much you think, because I know we talk a lot about ATG and the strength to length and the mobility and the flexion. How much % would you say is your nutrition and your mindset and like that other piece of the body? Like, you know what I mean? I know ATG is more than just, all right, stretching. Like how much % would you give to that in terms of like the overall health of a body?
I want to hear Ben's at the end there because
that's probably a good one for next week. But,
Okay. How much time we got here?
we can
You know, I like to go
we can
deep,
give
man.
a taste.
I'll give you a tiny answer to that.
5 minutes left. We like the podcast.
3 minutes. Oh, 12 minutes.
minutes.
Well, I'm just going to say this on that real quick, and it could be a whole other podcast on lifestyle and diet and stuff. But, I eat well 90% of the time. I give myself an A. So I enjoy life. Some people, if you want to be perfect, be perfect. If that's your game, if that motivates you. In the end, it's about the mindset and your lifestyle and what you're doing and what's your goals. For me, I'm just living well and trying to prolong my life as long as I can with still experiencing joy. So by playing sports, by eating a pizza, having a glass of wine here and there. Yeah. So to do that, I do 90%. And I do think everyone's going to have a different genetic fat level based on when they eat 90% right. Okay? So maybe Bob needs to eat 95% to get a lean body. Maybe Joe can get away with eating 80% clean and still having a really lean body. Genetics, it's a very complicated sort of, you can get into all the science of it, but in the end, it's find where you're at now, and if you want to be better, eat better. Yeah. And eating is where you sculpt the body, and obviously longevity. It's a little bit of a different field than the training itself. Yeah. I could eat really bad and go train and still be very strong and flexible and be a little overweight.
I was just
but
saying
it will affect my long term.
Yeah, I was saying that in terms of like, I feel like just training almost supersedes that a little bit from me personally. I'm like, if I'm training ATG, it's almost like I know obviously you got to eat a certain way. You definitely got to be.
If I want to be strong and mobile, it's the training. Yeah. But if I want to last,
if you want to be sculpted,
well, maybe external versus internal health. Like
exactly.
Like if someone doesn't do any exercise but they eat a good diet, they're not just gonna be able to do the exercises that we can do.
Right.
But if we worked on the exercises but then like only ate fast food.
Right.
Like we could actually still get pretty good at the exercise.
Probably get stronger.
Internally, things might not look that great. Yeah. But I think it's an interesting point where I think there's a mixture of science and art when it comes to the body. And what I mean by that is, all right, if you wanted, if we were in the little further future than now in terms of technology, and I could say, all right, Derek, I'll take a blood sample and then I'll show you exactly like what percent like your whole family tree like came about, and based on the soil we know exactly what foods, like I could show you, like imagine if I could show you like these are literally the percentages of foods that naturally occur that like the people ate as you you would get a pretty okay. And I mean right off the bat it's like, oh, and the score shows that there were like 0% Doritos. Like but our ancestors also didn't have to deal with it being somebody's birthday and everyone's eating ice cream and then you don't eat ice cream.
Different society.
But that to me, that's where the art comes in. For one person, and even for you in a lifetime, you could have different moods. You could be like, man, this sucks. Everyone's eating that ice cream. Everyone's eating ice cream. I want some ice cream. And then you might actually feel worse from not eating the ice cream. You also might have a day where you go, man, I feel great. Everyone there just ate that ice cream, and I didn't. Yeah. I feel like a superhuman. But so I've had times in my life where I can actually become mentally stronger than my ancestors had to be. Like it's easy to say, well, our ancestors were automatically mentally strong. Well, they didn't have to turn down looking at porn.
Right.
So I've been in a relationship.
So were they actually stronger?
They had to.
But were they actually stronger, or did they not have no other option?
Right. I think we can become, so if you look at, yes, I think the average person, even 100 years ago, was mentally stronger than today. But we have a small breed of like superhumans. Think about the knowledge you can obtain in a single lifetime today. So yes, the average IQ is down. The average health is down. I have no doubt that my intelligence and physical fitness, my dad couldn't do a splits and dunk a basketball and do else. Like, I'm more knowledgeable and fitter than my ancestors were. Yeah. But yes, the average person is less fit and less. So the baseline is different.
The discrepancy is getting larger.
Yeah.
For those who want to win.
Between the average and the top.
Exactly. Between those that are knowledgeable and those that aren't. The discrepancy is larger. Before, it was like we're all the same. We had no choice. Or slight variations. Now, you can really succumb. You can really go down a dark path in life, sickness, health, inability, pain, misery, depression, or you can really win in life.
You can rise up more.
So that discrepancy is what has changed.
Yeah. Porn addiction, okay, that didn't exist before. Porn.
Yeah.
Since Alyssa and I have been together 14, well, hopefully she's not listening. I forget how many years. But the point
Long time.
The point is, like shortly before starting dating her, like I realized like, okay, porn's not something I want to do. Like I never relapsed. So I never went. So nice. We're talking 14. I was 18. So I'm 33 now. So 15 years ago, maybe from 16 to 18, fell into whatever porn my friends were watching. Stopped. That's it. Like that's made me feel stronger. That's strong. The fact that I quit it. And then, that's made me feel like a victory, a win.
Yes.
So yeah, it's
That's strong,
it's an interesting time to evaluate for ourselves. Like, okay, maybe it would be mentally strong to wake up at 4 a.m., jump in an ice bath, slap my balls, whatever. I see these things. I mean, it's just like I saw it, like slap your ball. Like I saw a post and it's like slap your balls. It'll increase your testosterone. You know what? I got 2 kids. My libido's high. Sex life is fucking amazing, and I don't slap my balls. Like I'm gonna skip that one.
Yeah.
Like we have to pick for ourselves.
Yeah.
That's the art.
Ice bath.
Well, that's the art. So to me, the definition of
I don't do just.
send me
about
that
anything.
link.
I don't even.
You gotta do the
I'm
research.
getting forced into the cold bath.
I'll test that one out, man. I'll let
5
you know.
minutes. 5 minutes. So I think we're gonna go from a
put us on
40-minute
game, man.
podcast to a 30-minute. That's what happens in the last 10. Basically, could be the downfall of ATG. But I'll tell you, I'm with Derek. Though, like Derek said, he doesn't like the ice bath. For me, life is more of a long game, and so like being with my kids, seeing the phone, putting it aside, being present, sitting there while they do freaking whatever with toys.
That's
for
your
an hour long, wandering around. I mean, they're 2 and 4, so I'm in that age where I can't just be like, all right, go have fun in the woods. No, but it's all like, all right, we're gonna go to the woods, but I'm gonna have to follow you, just silently following you around, whatever. Or one of them's upset, and now I have to, in the moment, I have to go, oh, well, we can't get on that bus. I mean, little toddlers, so they want like random things. Oh, we can't dress up as a tiger right now.
Right.
For this funeral that we're going to. Like toddlers, they don't know that it. So, and then in that moment, I have to be like, wow, let's go outside. Let's go look at do you want to play Simon Says? Simon Says, do a circle. I mean, literally, like for me, those are victories every time.
Yeah.
So there might be someone else who's like cheating on his wife, but he takes his ice bath in the morning
Right.
or whatever. Or
Exactly. It's all value, right? Like in the end,
whatever it is for you, it's going to be
It's not that ice baths are bad. Like
Exact for someone
I've
else.
used them and liked them. I've used them and
For
hated
someone else, the ice bath could be a life-changing breakthrough.
Correct.
So that's all I'm saying is that
It's the application.
it's going to be really personal for you.
Yeah.
Your health is going to be both a science and an art, in my opinion. Not just a science and an art.
Yeah. Because you can read the textbook and it says do sled, Poliquins, Peterson, split squat.
Yeah. Or that
maybe
the ice bath increases it,
right.
but I
and
don't
then
want.
and then you do ice bath in the sauna. But maybe the art, which is what I like that you said. It's like personal art is the personal side of it, but it's the It's the way you apply the science.
Yeah.
That is the art, and personal training is a big time art. Living your life is an art. You can have all the science in the world, but the way it is applied in your life is going to be different from every single person. Every single client I get in here or that is online has a slightly different reaction, and one exercise is a little bit better for that. Ice bath's going to be better for every single person differently than the next person, right? So, playing with kids, whatever it is, it's how do you apply, how do you live your life, whether it's a science-based thing or just living life mentality, whatever in general, is an application. And that, when you find what works for you and leads to an increase in happiness, production, whatever you want to call it, well, that's your art. That means you're winning.
And then to me, it's like, could that have some basic, like, okay, if your diet is half Doritos,
right?
If your diet's 51% Doritos, that might be kind of tough to combat. But for one person to argue with another person about whether you should enjoy a bag of Doritos once a week, that's outside of my, that's not my interest. Same with the training.
Right.
I don't get into the weeds on the details. I believe in training from the ground up. I believe in training through full range of motion. I help people how much weight they should use. That varies greatly. Alyssa and I do the same program. She doesn't like to push to failure on the weight. I love that feeling of knowing I'm pushing my body towards the limit of what it can do on an exercise.
It depends on the goal. Again, art.
Yeah.
What is your goal? What is your purpose? What are you doing? What's your genetics? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. And I think whatever your natural ranges of motion are and training from the ground up, I think those are pretty basic.
Man. That's huge.
Having a purpose in life, having good relationships around you. And these are some of the things like when they see what makes people happy looking back on their life, they usually had a purpose, good relationships.
Good ethics, general ethics, moral code.
Boy, it's going to be tough to have good relationships. When
Exactly. So, it's even foundational of that, right? You would have to have a good moral code, good ethics to have a good relationship.
Yeah, and those are going to be like averages.
Yeah.
I could train from the top down, but if I still did my full ranges of motion and that, like it's principles, it wouldn't stop it's not an absolute.
Yeah, I think ultimately everything we saying, man, I think people self-image is big and feeling good. I think everybody just ultimately wants to feel good, you know, and the ice baths, saunas, like meditation, like whatever.
Any of those could make someone feel good.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, like you said, you could pick and choose, but self-discipline is going to make you feel good. And you know what I mean? Choosing what fits your mode of reality. We just feel like having a healthy, flexible, strong body ultimately trumps. I don't know. I know that makes you feel good.
It's a foundation.
3, 2, 1. Help people too.
Deuces.